Surprise, surprise. Hey, I'm live. And a lot of you are probably wondering maybe what happened to me, but I'm kind of sitting this out right now. I don't want to be peddling a comic book in the middle of a pandemic because I have a soul, and I'm trying to see if we're all going to be running through the woods with drones chasing us soon, or if we're or if there's going to be an economy and a country and people and comic books, because there's crazy stuff happening right now. For years I've talked about how people are afraid of the police, and you're like, oh no, we love the police. No, you whether you know it or not. I mean, I keep looking at the screen, sorry. Whether you know it or not, you might think you're a fan of the police, but your subconscious is afraid of the police. Americans are terrified of police. I'm going to make a point here. Americans are terrified because the police will murder you. Just follow, even if they will violate your constitutional rights and murder you, or hand you over to a corrupt court that will convict a newborn infant. We have courts and juries that will convict a newborn infant now and throw them in prison. And you subconsciously know that. So when the police come around, and you could say everything you want around the police, but then when the police come around, I could watch your demeanor change, and you'd be like, yeah, okay, yeah, no, oh yes, sir, yeah, no, okay, yeah, you know what I mean? Generally, and generally that's the attitude, and I am getting to a point with this. So I've watched people bow down to the police for quite a while now. And as I think it was Benjamin Franklin, or I can't remember which founding father said, I think it was Benjamin Franklin said, when the people fear the government, and the police are the most visible arm of the government, they are the enforcement arm of the government. This kind of relates to my comic book too, because my comic book character hates corrupt police, and he basically, in the comic book, he goes to war with corrupt police. But anyway, yeah, when the people fear the government, you have tyranny, and the police are the government. And when the government fears the people, you have what is it, freedom or whatever. You have freedom, or justice, or whatever it is. I can't remember the exact quote, but my point being is, we fear the police so much now. Like, the police are supposed to be terrified to violate your rights. Now they violate your rights like they're eating popcorn. You know what I mean? They violate your rights now like they're crossing the road. You know what I mean? Just like, oh, yeah. And what do they say to everybody? They say, oh, I know it's not fair. They said it to my friend the other day, my girlfriend, or his girlfriend, in the middle of a pandemic, started smashing their grocery, throwing a fit, because he asked her to help him. He's like, aren't you going to help me bring up the groceries? He's like making multiple trips bringing up groceries. They bought a whole bunch of groceries because of the whole pandemic thing we're in. This was like a few weeks ago. She starts smashing all the groceries in the middle of a pandemic. So you're stocking up for food. You ask your girlfriend for help. She flips out, starts smashing the groceries. I've been warning him about her for years. I guess it took them being cooped up in the house together for it to eventually fester and come out. So all he did was push her away. He basically, with his foot, because she was bent over, pushed her away. She called the police without a mark on her. She called the police and said he kicked her. Then, so he comes over. So he fled, comes over here. I didn't know that he said she called the police. I thought he'd already talked to the police. I'm just giving you and multiply this story by 1,000,000. Okay. Don't be like, oh, that happened to your friend. No, this happens to Americans. I could tell you 20 stories like this, and meaning it's not for me. And I know you all could tell me 20 stories like this, and almost everybody I know can tell me 20 stories like this. So it's not rare. This is the way it is. This is what happened. This isn't what happened to my friend. I'm telling you what happens to Americans. So he comes over here and he's telling me, and I'm like, oh, that's too bad. He's like, can I move in here? I'm like, oh yeah, I need a roommate because I work full time and I'm barely making ends meet. I'm renting out the top half of my house. I just woke up, sorry, and walked my dog. I didn't even take a shower, but whatever. So anyway, so and my hair is all messed up and whatnot. I did cut it recently though, so it looks a little better. But anyway, so I'm like, yeah, sure, you can move in here. Then all of a sudden I hear on the door, and I'm like, oh, who could that be? I look out the door. It's the police. I thought he'd already talked to the police. He didn't talk. He ran before they came. So they take him outside and they arrest him and take him down to the courthouse. Now, she doesn't have a mark on her. He's had to call the police on her before, and she has a record of being crazy. She has a record of being like almost everybody in the town that knows her knows she's crazy. But men are so brainwashed that women can't do any harm that they'll hook up with they'll take chances with crazy women because all the men are brainwashed. Okay, all the men in this country are brainwashed from cradle to grave to throw themselves in front of a bus for any woman. And so, you know what I mean? So my friend, who has pretty much no criminal record, never's been in trouble, he's got to go to court now, and he's got basically an assault charge. So he's not gone for like 5 minutes. You know what I mean? The police take him away. He's not gone for like 5 minutes till there's a knock at my door. And I look out, and it's his girlfriend, and his car's parked outside. And me knowing women, I already know what she wants. She threw him in jail. Now she wants to take his car so she can go party and who knows, go give BJs or whatever she's going to do for drugs or whatever she's going to do. So I don't answer the door. So who gets out of the car? Now Tyrone gets out of the car, big giant black guy, and he's walking around my driveway. I'm the type of person, I'm so fed up with society, I'm looking for a confrontation. But I don't want to get involved with all this, so I don't even answer the door. But luckily for me, one of my neighbors comes out, and he's like, hey, because she's banging on the door. Bang, 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 bang. Bang, 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 bang on my door. So I'm like, oh, here we go. And then I see a big black guy get out of the car. So he's probably a drug dealer. And I know that she'll probably give him a ride, she'll probably ride him around town so he can sell drugs so that she can get high for free, just giving him rides around in my friend's car while he's in jail, because these are American women we're talking about here. And I'm not saying they're all bad, but most of them are trash. And most Americans, I've come to the conclusion, are trash too. So anyway, I guess they don't mean to be, but they're so degenerate from the brainwashing and the cult mentality in this country, and the inability to actually think for themselves, that most Americans fall under the guidelines of under the category of trash now anyway. So anyway, I have to be super, I'm super brainwashed. I have to be careful not to fall into that category. And I'm not up here like these other artists. I'm not peddling a comic in the middle of a pandemic. So anyway, yeah, so now my friend's got a court date, and I can tell you a million stories like this. It's not, and I don't just happen to know all the guys that are in this position. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I know the 20 guys that this kind of stuff. No, we all know that this happens. So here's my point. the other day it was in the news that the police grabbed up a woman and arrested her in front of her kids for going to the park during this virus. And hey, puppy, I'm glad I got a big dog. It's like God was telling me, get a big dog, order lots of bullets, order lots of ammunition. So, my nephew, it's like my instincts were telling me that the SHIT was going to hit the fan. And so, my nephew's like beating around the bush. I was like, you better get your LTC, your license to carry. And then he got that. I was like, better go get a gun. Better go get a gun. Oh, he didn't get a gun. Guess what? All the gun stores are closed. He's upset. He's a little upset. He can't go buy a gun. He can't go buy gunpowder. Can't get a gun. Can't get anything. My father can't get gunpowder right now. My father's a little perturbed. No Second Amendment. They shut down the Second Amendment. So anyway, the police arrested a woman recently in Idaho for going to the park with her kids. So I was looking in the news, and you can go look it up. 15 or 20 protesters showed up, not at the Capitol, but on the cops' lawn. I'll just say it, on the pigs' lawn. They showed up on the cops' lawn. So it's coming down to it. People are getting sick of the police. So now I think they should have showed up armed, and the police held the line, and they stood out front of the cop's house to protect him from these protesters. But I'm telling you, man, it's going to get to the point where the police are going to be burying their uniforms in this country if they keep it up. I guess the police want a violent, bloody war with the people. I guess that's what they want, because they've been screwing us over, stealing everything, taking our money, throwing everybody in jail for every little thing now for years, and it's coming to a head. They start arresting moms for taking their kids to the park. I'm telling you right now, it's already starting. The police the protesters surrounded this pig's house. Now I think they should have been armed, and they should have grabbed one of the cops I think they should have went there armed with 300 people, not 30 people or 20 people. And they should have almost all had guns, and they should have grabbed one of the cops, charged them with treason, and held them and picked one of the person's houses and put them down, locked them up in the basement, and waiting for trial for treason. And they should have held them on $10 million bail, so that their cop friends, if they wanted to, could come pay $1 million and get their buddy out on bail under the understanding that he would come back for trial, and that cop should be tried for treason, and sentenced to 20 years in somebody's basement, and he can get out and walk around for a half hour every day, and maybe we'll throw him a couple Big Macs sandwiches every day for lunch. What do you think of that, police? That's what I think should have happened. But anyway, it's coming down. Americans the Americans who have their heads screwed on right are going to get sick of this stuff. And so I still have been working on my comic, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I'm basically taking it easy right now, because who knows where this is going to go. I mean, Trump's vaguely telling states to liberate themselves. He's telling, what does that even mean? My grandfather liberated the Jews in Germany and got shot down in a bomber and marched through the snow like Elie Wiesel and put in a concentration camp. And my whole family thought my grandfather was dead for a year until we liberated the concentration camps, and my grandfather was let out and was able to come home. Luckily, he was even alive. He survived a plane crash. My grandfather survived a plane crash fighting the Nazis, only so that some guy like me talking about freedom could be called a Nazi 50, 60 years later, or whatever, however long it's been. It's incredible. This country is so lost. But I have been working on my comic. I mean, I was going to show you some of the breakdowns, just an update, but I'm not really I'm taking my time, and I'm not pushing it right now. I'm just having fun drawing. But I've showed you this page. I got this page roughed out right now. It's like, so basically they go together like this, and you can see, the guy in the Merce who jump comes over the railing and of the boat, and there's the guy that he just killed on the ground. It's just roughed out. Then you see a panoramic view of the inside of the boat, and the criminals are all pulling their guns out, and this guy's standing here with a huge, in front of the mob boss's desk with a huge M60 machine gun, smoking a cigarette or something. And then right here, you'll see the mob boss in the background at his desk while he's aiming a 60 cal at the door. You know what I mean? And so, basically it's looking pretty tight. It's like a 2-page. You can see basically where I'm going with it. It's pretty cool. I'm having fun anyway. I don't know if I'm, I don't know where this, if I don't know where this country's going right now. There's a lot of crazy things happening. Like Trump, as I said, is vaguely telling. That's what was my point. I get off track because there's so much stuff to cover. So my point is what does that mean? Virginia, liberate your state. Your Second Amendment is under attack. That's what Trump tweeted. Does that mean liberate your state with guns? Are the people gonna go to war with the police and the state police and the governor and the military and say leave our Second Amendment alone? Because you can ask polite. What I saw on that video of those 20 protesters surrounding the cop's house, what I saw was 20 citizens surrounding Al Capone's house and begging Americans, red-blooded Americans, land of the brave, home of the free, were politely begging Al Capone, will you please not arrest my wife for taking her? Will you please not steal my wife, Al Capone? Will you please not ruin my family and rob me, Al Capone? Oh, you won't? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. All right, I didn't mean to bother you, Al Capone. All right, well, I'll go away now. That's what I saw. I didn't see people there telling the police, look, we're going to grab one of your cops and we're going to hold him until you release my wife. That's what I should have saw. I should have saw we're all armed. There's 300 of us. We can. This is how this can go. We can either stomp your heads into the ground right now and smash your heads open on the concrete like you do to everybody else, and take one of you right now back to our house and put you in our basement until you drop all the charges on my wife and leave it alone. No bargain, no court, no nothing, no judges. We'll go over there and we'll smash their heads into that. You know what I mean? That's what I should have saw. You know what I mean? But what I saw was, will you please not hurt us? Will you please leave the mother of my kids alone? Will you please, Al Capone, I'm sorry. Oh, you won't? Okay, I'm sorry. We'll go away now. That's what I saw. It does. It sounds bad. You can't. They're probably. I don't know. Seems like you should be able to hear me through my microphone. Here, let me check it out. I'll go see what it sounds like. I'll open it up in YouTube. And Kingdom Comics. Here it is. It's in my recommended. Well, it seems to sound okay on my end. It's gonna. I know. Oh, the topic I'm talking about. Nighthawk, I'm talking about what's happening. 30 protesters surrounded a cop's house in Idaho because he grabbed the mother of two kids just because she decided to bring them to the park. And so, and what I've been trying to tell, and this is, and the reason that this grabs my attention is because I've been telling people for years, we will not have freedom until you can get the order following police who will murder, who will violate somebody's rights and violently beat their heads in, right? They'll basically they'll beat somebody's heads in and violate their rights and say, sorry, just doing my job. My point is the police said to my friend too, and another point I forgot to make was the same thing. But my friend said to the police, but I didn't, she's not hurt. She's not hurt. I didn't do anything. He's like, I just got her. She was smashing the groceries and I just got her away from the groceries. And the cop said, I know it's not fair. The cop said, I know it's not fair, but we got to arrest you. So the police know, just like that's what the Nazis used to say. They used to say that they had an equivalent saying of, I'm just doing my job. That's what the Nazis used to say. So the police are saying exactly the same things the Nazis used to say instead of doing real investigations. They didn't say to her, I don't see any marks on you. They didn't say to his ex, I didn't, because and they took him in the cruiser and they took him away and he's got a court date now. And he might end up on probation with his record ruined for the rest of his life because his girlfriend was throwing a fit and smashing the groceries, and he didn't just stand there like a simp, like an idiot, and let her ruin all the groceries. He pushed her away from the groceries. Now, I have another friend, same position. His girlfriend was beating on him. He restrained her. He wanted to leave. She wouldn't let him leave. He restrained her. He grabbed she wouldn't let go of his car keys. He got his car keys out of her hand. And when he got his car keys away, she fell on the bed. She picked up the neighbors didn't. She picked up the phone, called the police, and said he assaulted her. This is two friends I have now. And he went to court, and he's got a kid with his ex. And he had to go to court and admit to something. He had to say, to keep he read up on all the rules, and to keep DCF out of his kid's life, the Department of the Child Kidnapping Services out of his life, he had to say that he beat up his girlfriend. And he's on probation now. He can't drink anything. He can't have a beer, nothing. And basically his record is probably ruined for the rest of his life. And next time he goes to renew his license to carry, they'll probably deny it because he's got a record of being abusive now. And so that's another friend I have. And his wife was able to steal his kid, run off. That I think two guys I know right now, him and another guy. So this is not even the friend I was just talking about. Two guys I know, their exes were able to steal the kids and run off to another state. One guy's kids are down in Florida right now because she wants to be independent or something. Just all of a sudden she wants to be independent. So the kids got to suffer too. And it's not kidnapping when a wife does it. But if a father grabs some kids, and if the mother's abusive and you take the kids and run, well, now that's kidnapping, and the police will beat. The whole country's just anti-male, and the police are here to white knight for all the abusive women and beat your head in and take you off to jail. And then all the while just be like, oh no, I know it's not fair, but I'm just doing my job. When I was in that position once, and I told the police, I said, you're scum. I said, you're a piece of garbage. I said to the police, you guys are effing garbage. And I told them this was like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I can't even remember, 15 years ago, maybe this happened to me. And I got out of it. I didn't get any charges. I caught her lying right in the courtroom. And luckily the judge dismissed, he gave me like a continuation he didn't give me innocent and arrest her. See, the judge didn't give me an innocent finding and then arrest her for filing false allegations though, right? Because then women would stop doing that. He just probably was disappointed the judge was probably disappointed that I made her contradict herself, because I'm pretty witty. If you haven't listened to me, I'm pretty witty, and I got her to contradict herself on record and admit to being a liar. Two women that have tried to do this to me. When I've tried to. Bronson, that's enough. Bronson, that's enough. I think I might have a package or something outside. Let me look real quick. Is the UPS guy here, Bronson? Huh? Oh, the UPS guy is here. Oh, you good boy. So when I talk to the police now, I'm like, you're a piece of garbage. I say that right to the police. I go, shut up, you piece of trash. And they were letting me out when my ex-wife tried to do this type of stuff to me. They were letting me out, and they were like, you got to go to the courthouse, most likely. The guy, it was like a Jewish guy, and you can't say, and my Jewish friend, if you call me a Nazi, my Jewish friend is going to disagree with you and call you a Nazi. But it was like a Jewish guy, because most of the lawyers and doctors and judges in this town are just somehow Jewish. We're all running around like I'm the Nazi as the judge, as the Jewish judges and lawyers are just throwing people in jail, doing coke. There's pictures of lawyers, at parties with hookers and stuff like that, throwing you in jail if you do coke, though. But anyway, they were letting me out, and this guy's like, you're gonna have to go down to the courthouse. Most likely, there's a restraining order on you. Bye, Nighthawk. You have a nice pandemic too. You have a nice pandemic day too, and so basically, I'm like, oh, you mean the corrupt, bankrupt, illegitimate, completely criminal courthouse downtown? That courthouse, the bankrupt, illegitimate, anti-constitutional. You know what I mean? I just went on I just laid it right out. Oh, the completely bankrupt, illegitimate, criminal, courthouse run by trash downtown. That courthouse, and he just laughed. He didn't even know what to say. He smirked when I said that. He shook his head and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be sure to go down there, I said. And but I got out of it all. But I'm watching my friend, and then I was like, and all these artists that you see with families, you know where your money's going? It's going right up. It's going. You're throwing money. All these artists are like, I'm cool, you know what? Or I'm a good guy, you know why? Because I have a wife and kids and a family. And all the politicians are like, all the corrupt politicians are like, oh, see my wife and my kids? That means I'm a good guy. And then they're robbing you, and they're laughing all the way to the bank with your money, and the money's getting wasted. On $15,000 Christmases and drugs for the wife. You know what I mean? All these artists that pretend they're good people because they have families, and all these the last thing that you want to elect is a politician who's married with a family, because he's going to compromise his morals, and he's going to more likely cheat, steal, and be corrupt to support his family. And that's just how it goes. You should be electing single men. When you have a family, even if you're a good person and you have a family and you're a high level politician, you're basically leaving yourself open to be attacked. You know what I'm saying? You're giving the enemy leverage to basically attack you. And if you get into any amount of controversy where your wife gets worried that you're a really good politician and you're actually standing up to evil, and you start getting death threats, you know what I mean? People start calling your house, and your wife picks up the phone, and it's some guy, and he's like, I'm going to kill you. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Your wife is most likely going to leave you and divorce you and take your kids, take your house. I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm pro family. I'm just saying, I'm saying, don't be taken advantage of by these people that pretend they're good people because they're married and they flaunt these artists. The last thing these famous artists and politicians should be doing is even showing people their family and flaunting their family on video. But they know that it makes you give them your money. You're like, he must be a good guy. He's married and has a family. When most guys now are complete simps, and they will they'll embezzle money, they'll steal, they'll take payoffs, you know what I mean? They'll take bribes, anything it will take to keep their wife. Like if you gave me money, I would use my platform. I would use it I'm single. I'm not going to white knight for my wife and take all that money and spend it on expensive cars and clothes and jewelry to keep my wife around. You understand what I'm saying? If you donate money to me, you're going to get lots of comic books and you're going to get them on time because I don't have a wife and I don't have kids nagging me and telling me what to do. I do have kids, but they don't live with me because I'm a male. Men don't get default custody of children out of wedlock. They let the women steal your kids and make you pay for. That's another thing they do in this country. So be careful having kids out of wedlock because and I was careful. I didn't have I had plenty of opportunities to knock women up and didn't for decades. You know what I mean? For at least over a decade, from like 18 to like 35. Then I finally, got a girl pregnant, and she took off with my kids, and all my friends' wives are taking off with the kids. It's just incredible. And that's just the way it goes these days. Thanks for the thumbs up. Thanks for watching, by the way. But I'm not going to push a comic book in the middle of what is either a pandemic or a scamdemic. You know what I mean? I should entitle this, is this a pandemic or a scamdemic? I'm on my Facebook page. I friended this one of my roommates, or one of my friends' roommates, or I want to say landlord, because you'll notice a lot of these women, they won't rent to other women. Women landlords, they'll rent to men. Why? Because men are more dependable than women, and men are basically usually more fiscally responsible. So they'll talk crap. They'll call Trump a chauvinist pig, right? And I'm not necessarily pro-Trump. I didn't vote for him. I'm waiting to see if he's going to lie or not. If I'll be pro-Trump after Trump's presidency is over, his second term, if he has one. I'll look back and then I'll be pro or anti-Trump. I'm waiting because I understand that these politicians throw you, and and he's not a politician, but he is an actor, and he's been in entertainment, and I think they're all paid actors. But I'm giving Trump the benefit of the doubt. And so anyway, these women, they'll talk trash about men, but then they'll rent. When they rent rooms out, I always notice they usually rent rooms out to males. So anyway, one of my male friends, his female landlord, I friended her, and now my page is covered with perverts like Joe Biden and Bill Gates, who was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know if you know this, but Bill Gates and Melinda Gates, who Melinda basically looks like a man to me, a tranny, were friends with Jeffrey Epstein even after they knew he was a registered sex offender. They kept going to his island. And then J.P. Morgan Chase and Bill Gates and Melinda Gates hooked up with J.P. Morgan Chase to try to open a charity for Jeffrey Epstein, even after he knew that Jeffrey Epstein was a child, or was a sex offender. I don't know if he was into children, but he was into really young girls. So which doesn't make, you have to be, into prepubescent children to be an actual pedophile. So I don't want to call him a pedophile. I'll just call him a sex offender for now. But anyway, why would you want a man like Bill Gates giving everybody vaccines when he was trying to raise money for a registered sex offender? This is the stuff I ask her, and she just goes, fake news. When there's pictures of Bill Gates and Melinda Gates with Jeffrey Epstein and JP Morgan Chase, and basically so I'm on there telling her why, and there's video of Joe Biden sniffing little girls, he can't even contain himself. He's like, oh yeah, oh, and he's like touching these girls are like, oh, get away, on stage, on video, on C-SPAN too. And I'm telling her this. I'm like, why are you supporting perverts and like evil James Bond geek villains like Bill Gates, who was friends with Jeffrey Epstein? And she just goes, that's fake news. You're a Nazi. And I'm like, no, you don't. I'm calling you out for supporting creeps and perverts and posting them on my homepage. And my family fought the Nazis. Once again, my grandfather got shot down in World War II in a bomber, okay, survived the plane crash, and was marched through the snow and put in a concentration camp just like a Jew. He's German. My grandfather was German American, but just like he was treated like a Jewish guy, a Jewish person for a year until our military liberated the concentration camps and got my grandfather out. So basically, only so that I can now be called a Nazi by a woman who says she's pro, she's basically how do you put this? She's basically a moral individual who's pro I don't know she's basically pro morals, but she's going to post pictures of Joe Biden, who can't even contain himself and touches little girls inappropriately on C-SPAN. You know what I'm saying? So I told her, I said, I'm the one calling you out for supporting perverts and people like Bill Gates that want forced vaccinations on the whole world after he hung around with sex offenders knowingly. I'm like, so you don't get to just turn it around by calling me a Nazi. I was like, my family fought the Nazis, and I said, in my Jew, and I wrote this, I basically wrote, typed this out. I said, my Jewish friend is saying you're the Nazi. I have a Jewish friend, and he agrees with me that forced vaccines and being ordered to stay in your home, that's anybody who's for that, you're the Nazi, not me. I'm for total freedom 100%. And I think if there is a pandemic, let the chips fall where they may. It's probably the government the government's on top of that. We got a government that's playing around. We have all the governments, not just China, all the governments, all these dorks, all these geeks, all these evil geeks that, I don't know, they hate their lives. They were like bullied in high school. They're up there. They're in these laboratories playing around with mouse pox and Ebola and AIDS and HIV viruses, trying to come up with super viruses, while out of the other sides of their mouth going, oh, we think everybody needs to have vaccinations. I mean, it's just incredible. You couldn't even write a comic book like this. Like the reality that we live in. This reality is absolutely absurd. You couldn't write a comic book this absurd, I'll tell you. So basically, my comic book is on standby. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be on here peddling a comic book while the president's calling for states to liberate themselves. I mean, I can't even. I mean, there's only one way to liberate yourself against a tyrannical government, and that's with force. So Americans are either going to beg and plead, with their masters to please stop this, to please stop this game and start doing what's in the best interest of the people, or they're going to let the government know who's boss. And that's called a revolution. So Donald Trump tweeting for Virginia and Idaho and Michigan or whatever to liberate themselves is basically tweeting for an armed rebellion, because the police are not afraid of you. The police laugh at you. The police, well, after they violate your rights and they go and you're like, well, I don't know what to do, and they're like, sorry, no, we know it's not fair, but get in the cruiser and yeah, no, they play both sides. They act like they're on your side, and then after you're in the, after they throw you in the cell and they're out with their buddies later, they're like, the police are like, what a little, what a dork, what a dork, what a what a weak individual. Yeah. You know what I mean? They sit, they sit there, probably call us names and laugh. Oh, well, I'm going home to my wife and kids now. I'm going to have, because throwing innocent people in jail and taking everything from them is how they put dinner on their table now. Remember, go look up the stories of the police. They find an old lady, some old lady takes her savings out of the bank, and, she's heading to the airport, and the police pull her over, sick a dog on her, find money in her purse, steal all her money now, you know what I mean? And then the judge takes her money and goes on vacation to Hawaii with it now, and they call her, they go, well, she might have been a drug dealer. You know what I mean? That's the type of stuff the police are into now. And it's happening in Idaho. Go look it up. In Idaho, basically, protesters surrounded a cop's house. So I don't know if this is going to get any better. We're going to see where this is going. I just wanted to come on here. I'm basically planning. I'm hoping for the best, but planning for the worst is all I can say. And maybe we will pull out of this, maybe we won't. But, I'm going to quietly do my comic book on the side here and just see where this goes. And, whether I even bother, my channel's on standby. I might not do a video. I might never do another video again. I'm not going to narcissistically, in a state of denial, get on here and say I'm a good person and I care about people, but give me your money in the middle of a pandemic when you could be spending your money on way more important stuff right now than comic books. Yeah, I said it. There's more important stuff in the world than comic books. And, you can go to the other comic book artists who don't care, who don't care. They think capitalism is putting money in front before morals, basically, and that's not that's not how that's corrupt capitalism. You know what I mean? I want people to spend their money on more important things than comic books right now. Like if you do have a family, you should be worrying about your kid's future right now. But anyway, that's all for now. This is Kingdom Comics. Maybe if things get better and things turn around and we come out of this and the economy gets back on track, like I don't even know if I'm going to have a job. Do you understand where this is going? Like I'm basically on unemployment right now for the first time in my life. Never sat around collecting a check ever. My boss doesn't know what he's going to do. And I work in the medical field, by the way. I'm a medical biller by trade. I help rehabilitate people. I help people get rehabilitated and pay their insurance bills, including police and firemen and first responders. You know what I mean? I do medical billing for the police and the firemen when they get hurt in the line of duty. When there was a cop there's a cop in our town. I don't know if he came to us or not, but he was white knight. He was white knighting for a woman, arresting her abusive boyfriend, and she hit the cop with a cast iron pan and broke the cop's arm. But anyway, um, uh, yeah, my boss is like gonna he's gonna try to reopen in a couple weeks, and I'm gonna go back full time for a period of about 2 months. And after 2 months, if things don't get better and the business isn't making any money, my boss is going to shut down his medical practice. Do you understand that? He's going to shut down the family practice that he uses to help to pay for his kids' futures. And then I'm going to have to go back on unemployment. So I start back full time in a week. And I'm kind of thankful for that, but I don't know for how long. I'm gonna start back full time in a week, and like I said, in 2 months, if he can't make any money, he's closing the doors for good. This is where America's going, man. And I'm gonna have to go on unemployment, and it's not gonna be the unemployment I have now, where I can just sit around. I'm gonna have to look for another job in this mess. And if they start saying forced vaccinations, I'm not going back to work. I don't know what I'm going to do. So all our futures are in peril right now. So um I'm not going to distract people with a comic book right now. So anyway, be safe. Uh Stand up for what's right at all costs, like a comic book hero. And may God be with you. I guess God bless you all. And thanks for the support you have given me. This is Kingdom Comics, and I'm out. Peace.